And greetings, and welcome to episode 6 of Spiritual Practices for a Tough Time as we continue on our journey. I hope you are well today as you join us, and thank you for joining us as we continue in this series to help us find ways and spiritual practices that can help us work with our current situation. As always, as we start, I love to light a candle just to symbolize the sacred light that's within you, within me, within all of creation, connecting us in this moment so that I hope you feel connected, and I hope you feel that we are not alone. You are not alone on this journey, but we're in it together wherever we are and whatever's happening for us in this moment as we join together. And maybe you might have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I'm having my usual jasmine tea as we join together, and it always represents to me that we're in this moment of communion, that we are still connected in our basic humanity and in this sacred light together. Well, here we are. We're in day 19 of our social and physical distancing. It's hard to believe that the time is going by, but we are continuing, hopefully, all of us together, to help flatten the curve of our COVID-19 pandemic and to keep each other safe and well during these times. It reminds me of the headlines as we continue from the Globe and Mail that Ottawa is expanding emergency wage subsidies, and also in the Globe and Mail talks about them building the tents in Central Park in New York City as we continue our journey. From the Mind Geek, which is one of the things I like to see what the creator is doing, you can find Instagram, they're talking about how the body releases and recovers from stress in many ways. And I don't know if you relate to any of these ways that are listed here. It could be crying, laughing, shaking, chills, yawning, deep breaths, stomach gurgling, sweating, waves of heat, sighing, tingling, giggling. I know for me, I had a lot of stomach gurgling yesterday as I did that. And also, as we continue along, the tulips in our backyard are continuing to grow and getting ready to blossom, and the snow is disappearing. And in our front yard, we discovered these really little tiny crocuses, which are just starting to grow. And it's amazing, even as we're in the midst of these things and these tough times, is that spring is unfolding in the midst of our eyes. And I hope you have a moment in your day when you look outside or go outside that you're able to see these signs of new growth and life in our day. As we start our time, I'd like to invite us into a moment of practice, into breathing practice. Breathing helps us to come into our body. It helps us to quiet our mind and maybe open our heart to a larger awareness of who we are and what reality is in this moment, and then to just let go. So I invite you to take a second and maybe just find a comfortable position in your chair, to put your feet on the ground, and to sort of sit up straight. And I'll begin our time of breathing meditation by ringing the meditation bell, and then I'll lead us through a moment of centering, and then we'll breathe together in this moment to bring ourselves into this present moment together. So let us begin. You might want to close your eyes now. You might want to feel your feet on the ground, down to your big toe and your little pinky. And you might want to feel the top of your head. Then I invite you in this moment just to breathe, to inhale. And then exhale. And as you practice breathing in your own method, maybe it's a slow in-breath and a slow exhale, or you might be doing 4 square breathing. Whenever you find yourself clinging to a thought or an emotion or a sensation in your body, or distracted by outside signs, just let go and come back to your conscious breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. And we'll do that for a moment together in silence. And at the end of that time, I'll ring the meditation bell to bring us back into this moment. So breathing in and breathing out. Being here and being present. Just let go of your thoughts as you breathe. Breathe in one more time. And breathe out. And feel the wholeness of your body, the wholeness of you, who you are, no matter what is happening, what you're feeling in this moment, what's happening in our world. Just allow yourself to feel who you are and to know that unexplainably there's a presence within you that will sustain you through everything. And just slowly open your eyes. As you open your eyes, do you feel a sense of gratitude for anything? Or do you sense or see joy or beauty around you? How do you feel in your body now? Is your mind a bit quieter? Do you feel an inner sense of calm or underlying calm? I hope these practices are helping you as we journey together in these tough times. How are you feeling today? Well, you know, for me, it's hard to believe that we're on day 19 and that we're observing so much, in some ways, pandemonium in our world. And so many things that we don't have control of. And so today I'd like to talk to you about control and inner calm. And maybe the only thing we control is letting go and not much else sometimes. It's sort of natural, I think, for all of us to want to have some sense of stability and control. And what's happening in these tough times, and maybe you've experienced this in other points of your times that weren't so overwhelming of what's happening now with everything with COVID-19 and our economy crashing and just living a normal life, is that when things happen to us, it's a natural state that we want to cling. We want to be able to manage things. And when that happens, you know, before things happen, sometimes our mind is like this clear bottle of water. And when things happen to us that are out of our control, our mind becomes like this. It becomes this stirring chaos of everything happening in our emotions and our body. And we just want to find some stability. Usually what happens is when this change comes about is if we try and do that, we usually cause ourselves more suffering and everybody else. It's sort of how we react to change. Reminds me of this video clip from that Canadian classic, Corner Gas.
Come on, Brent, you know what I mean. People around here just flat out hate change.
Well, not all change, just big, sudden changes that affect how they live.
Really?
Is that a new water pitcher? What are you trying to pull?
When did you start using yellow waitress pads?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? Do I look stupid to you?
Why did you switch from equal to sugar twin?
I thought you used regular sugar.
Is this about me not having any rubber gloves?
Yep, I'm really rocking the boat.
When did you change these? Do you still have the old ones?
Maybe that's how you're feeling. When did we change this? Why, how did this happen? Like, what's going on? I feel that way. I don't know about you. The interesting thing is, paradoxically, we find inner calm by letting go of control. It's the opposite of what we're taught in our world, and this requires us to cultivate an awareness and inner attitude of non-clinging and non-progress. This is taught to us by all the lineages of our religious traditions, that spiritual practices are a way to help us learn to let go. And by letting go, we develop these attitudes and inner awarenesses of non-clinging, non-progress. And what that does is help us find inner calm and a way to work with whatever's happening in our life in a much more non-judgmental, non-violent, and accepting way. It does, and in this next video we're going to watch is by Dan Harris. Dan Harris is an NBC news anchor who one day had a total meltdown, panic attack as he was presenting the news. And what it did is it led him into finding spiritual practices like meditation and yoga and walking meditation, and there's so many out there, as a way to help him find inner calm, not by controlling his life and controlling himself, but by letting go. So he explains how mindfulness and meditation is a superpower which can help us find inner calm.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. Despite what you may have heard, meditation does not involve joining a group, paying any fees, wearing any special outfits, sitting in a funny position, or believing in anything in particular. It is simple, secular, scientifically validated exercise for your brain. You don't have to do it yet, but just so you know, here are the 3 steps. 1, sit with your back straight and your eyes closed. 2, notice the feeling of your breath coming in and going out. Pick a spot where it's most prominent. Usually that's your nose or your chest or your belly, and just focus your full attention on the feeling of your breath coming in and going out. Now, as soon as you try to do this, your mind's going to go nuts. You're going to start thinking about, what am I going to have for lunch? Why did I say that dumb thing to my boss? Your brain's going to go nuts, and that's fine. The whole game is to notice when you've gotten lost and to start over, and then to start over again, and again and again. Every time you do that, it's like a bicep curl for your brain, and it shows up on the brain scans. Scientists have found this in the lab. It's also, by the way, a radical act. You're breaking a lifetime's habit of walking around in a fog of projection and rumination, and you're actually focusing on what's happening right now. Meditation is unlike anything you do in the rest of your life. Failure is actually success. As I said, the whole game is just trying, failing, starting again, failing, starting again. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, "Who's chasing you?" But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
So it's really interesting that these spiritual practices aren't about having a life filled of rainbows and unicorns. That's not their purpose, to somehow control our reality and mold it and script it to the way our smaller self wants it to be. What these practices are for, by simply trying to breathe and then failing over and over, is thinking, oh my goodness, I just read a report that COVID-19 is 26 times underreported in most places. Or, the mind's thinking, how am I going to deal with my feelings of loneliness? Or the mind is going everywhere. And all these things, it's not about spiritual practice somehow repressing them or taking them away. It's a constant practice of letting go of control, of letting go of things being a certain way. And when we do that, when I do that, over time, our mind that was a jumble for just a second becomes again this calmness where we can look out upon our life no matter what is happening, and we'll sense that there is a way through. There's a mystery that holds us, but yet we can find a way through. It reminds me of a story of Thomas Keating, who's one of the Christian mystics who helped bring back meditation into our Christian lineage in the last 100 years. And he talked about teaching this practice of letting go. He did it through a sacred word. So instead of following your breath, you'd say a word like peace or love or be. And he had this type A nun who was sitting there for 20 minutes, probably fidgeting and trying to let go. And she came up to him afterwards and said to her, you know what? As I was sitting there, and only as a type A personality could do, is I had to let go 10,000 times. It's sort of exacerbated, like, where's the perfection in this? And he said, well, that's perfect. You learned how to let go 10,000 times into reality, just as it is. And remember, God is just a word for reality in all its fullness. And so it's a practice, and I don't know if this is helping you, but over time this helps us find an inner calm. Now sometimes some of us can't just sit still, and that's okay. There are many spiritual practices that we can use. And during this time of COVID-19 and social and physical distancing, many of us are still walking in safe ways in which we keep that 2 meters or 6 feet distance from each other across the street. And Andy from Headspace talks about how we can use our time of walking to be mindful and help us find this common space. And common space, but also this calm within us.
So it's really important, not just at the start of each week, but at the start of each day, that we recognize just how interconnected our body and minds are. Sometimes we might sit down to meditate or be quiet and realize that our mind's just too busy. There's too much going on. So it can be really helpful in those moments just to go for a walk. Still good if we come back afterwards and do a little bit of meditation, but by going out for the walk, something happens to the body, something happens to the mind. Things start to flow a little more easily, and we tend to find it a little easier to manage that busyness in the mind. So make sure, if you can, each day, even if you don't get sort of any sort of full exercise as such, make sure that you're getting a little bit of walking in. Even if it's just a few minutes at a time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes on your lunch break, the end of the day, start whenever you have time. And as much as possible, just bringing the attention into the body, stepping out of the mind, allowing thoughts to come and go, not getting caught up in what happened last week, not getting caught up in what might happen next week. Instead, just being present in the body with the sensations of the body as it moves, as it walks, as the feet strike the floor beneath you. So right now, as you perhaps set off for a short walk, just starting in the right way, take a deep breath. As you breathe out, just leaving anything behind. Just starting to notice how the body feels as it moves. Not thinking too much about it. The body knows how to walk. Just noticing the posture, noticing the speed, just walking at a natural, comfortable pace. Notice perhaps the heaviness of the arms swinging at your side, the sensation of the legs moving in front of each other. And most of all, noticing that sensation of your feet as they touch the floor, the ground beneath you. That sensation of one foot pressing against the floor and then the next. And the funny thing is, as you do this and as you get more comfortable with this, rather than it taking your attention away from the space around you, you actually become more aware of everything around you. So less caught up in thinking, more aware of everything and everyone around you. So this type of walking brings us back to the present. It allows us to step out of our mind so that we can be more present, not only for ourselves, but also for others as we head in to the week in front of us. So you can just continue walking in that way for as long as is helpful for you.
Isn't that so simple in some ways and so easy that we could spend a minute or 2 or 5 minutes, maybe even in our homes if we have to, or outside in our backyards or down the street, just walking and letting go and being present in our bodies. And paradoxically, this makes us more aware of ourselves and our environment. And it cultivates that inner sense of calm, And what may this inner sense of calm look like? Well, for me, it reminds me of this poem of Mary Oliver called Wild Geese. Maybe this is what inner calm feels and looks like.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely. The world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
So there is this inner calm within us, in the world, or you want to say the divine, or sacred presence, is announcing and offering it to our imagination and our time, even in these tough times. And spiritual practices, which at their essence are a training for us to let go, help us find that. I hope that's helped you maybe today or made sense to you. It is a journey. We don't have to be perfect. This is not about finding success in 20 minutes or less. So I'd like to invite us in a final meditation, a final spiritual practice. It's been the one of a guided meditation of imagining when we start to cling or close off our hearts, we let our thoughts and we let our emotions drift away on the breeze. So I'll begin it in 1 second by ringing the meditation bell, but I invite you just now to take a moment again, just to be in your body and to feel your breath. And maybe even I invite you now to close your eyes as we begin this final meditation of this episode. So as you close your eyes, I invite you to imagine that you're on a beach, one of your favorite beaches. Maybe it's on an ocean, or a sea, or a river, or a lake. And it's a beautiful day. It's not snowing out or windy or cold. And you feel the warm sunlight shining and warming your face and body. And I invite you to imagine feeling the beach underneath you. As maybe you sit cross-legged or you're on a stool or a log. And as you sit there, imagine you start to hear nature around you. The birds, the insects, the ripple of waves upon the rocks and the sand. Now I imagine you to become aware of the gentle breeze flickering around your face and your fingers, gently ruffling your hair. And take a few deep breaths in. Breathe in. Breathe in the calmness of being on the beach. And exhale the tension you might be carrying in your body, just for this second here and now. And then as you start to, imagine things or feel certain emotions, or start thinking about yesterday or after this, maybe you feel anxiety or panic or worry or anger or gloom or foreboding. Just let those things, imagine them, they gently come out of your body and your heart and mind, and they join the breeze that's going past you. And off they blow into the distance. Off they blow to sea. Off they blow into the forest behind you. And just keep doing that as we sit on the beach with the gentle breeze, the warm sunlight, surrounded by nature. The next few moments, just let your thoughts and feelings and sensations, imagine them going on to the wind, the breeze. As you continue to let go Maybe you feel more present in your body. Maybe you feel your heart rate slowing down. Maybe you feel an inner calmness. Maybe you feel you're held by a presence that invites you to feel the soft body of who you are. And that you don't have to crawl on your knees for miles to be accepted or be okay, but just accept this moment as it is and let go. And maybe your heart begins to tell you it's okay. Everything is going to be okay. All shall be well. All shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Now I invite you to gently open your eyes and again be present to now. Do you feel an inner gratitude maybe? Or do you see or sense joy and beauty around you? I want to thank you once again for joining in this time of spiritual practices for tough times. I want to thank our tech team who's been with us. And as we leave this time, I'd like to leave you with this poem by Brother Lawrence, I believe. It's a poem about what happens when we let go and what opens up for us. So may you stay safe and may you be blessed. And I hope to see you next time as we join together for spiritual practices for a tough time.
Lockdown. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and grey and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number through the neighbourhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbours in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen. Behind the factory noises of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming, and we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.